Election without democracy. First, the electoral process or the practice of that election was devoid of democratic principles and values. And brilliantly pointed out by the director of the school, Professor Sam Amadi, in his presentation. If you plan to fail, not the political class, not the observers, not the voters, but INEC itself plan to fail by not honoring democratic precepts and values and norms, then such an election will have no democratic value or content. The second most fundamental one is that we're actually building a democratic infrastructure that is really devoid of democratic values. The very fact that of an election shorn of democratic intent, democratic practices, democratic precepts, will mean that you're producing a democratic or political system that is answerable to that kind of election. So the election, one, is devoid of democracy, and democracy it produces is devoid of genuine democratic values. That's why it is two-pronged. So the implication is that for us to really restore Nigerian political journey or trajectory, there is proper democratic balance, and they should not plan to fail. And they should observe and honor the principles embedded in the Electoral Act. Respect and honor the principles embedded in the text of this practice direction. This is what we want to do. This is how we're going to do it. The day of the election, there will be direct, visible, viable, timely, seen, immediate transmission of this result to INEC IREV. Real time. If this statement is made as verbal declaration and in writing, you must be held accountable to that. And if you fail to deliver on that, people will lose confidence in that process. And public trust can only be garnered when they see public office holders honor their words and honor the text of their writing. This report has proved conclusively that INEC failed to honor this. It's not the politicians, not the media, it's not the voters. That's number one. Number two, if INEC has a window to say, okay, we pause after collation to look at all the issues raised by all the contending parties before we can go ahead and press on with announcing who either won or who didn't win. And if failed to deliver on that, even when the law specifies you should do so, your own law, you're comfortable with, then you are deliberately planning to fail. That failure is producing election without democracy in two directions, like I said initially. The election itself is not democratic. The system itself is not democratic.
Now, my question yesterday, the president was able to publish to me the portfolio of ministers designate, and many Nigerians, there's been hot reactions on social media. Many Nigerians are believing it's the error that the spillover of the 2023, which you complained now earlier, is the spillover of the 2023 election. For instance, why they were complaining that Festus Keyamo giving a donation and others like that, WIKELAKS, state minister. In all this, what's your reaction as an expert and an analyst?
I have tried to tell practitioners like you, media practitioners, to bear with people like me, from AIT to Arise to Chinese and so on, and this is life, to bear with people like me. The courts are now an extension. They are now an extension of our the electoral process. The court is integrated to democracy in broad sense. But for elections, the court, from the presentation here, the courts are not part of that election. Almost everybody is in court. That means the legitimacy of everybody from governor to senator to rep to the president is in question. You swear them in, the president is producing ministers assigning portfolio, governors are swearing in commissioners assigning portfolio. People like us do not comment about them until the Supreme Court weighs its view. That is when the election is complete. The completeness of this election that started February 25th will be ascertained sometime in November or thereabout when the Supreme Court has ruled. So for me to comment about policies of government, either at any level, local government, state, and federal, is premature. So I'm going to hold the gunpowder dry until such a time that the tribunal, first, the Supreme Court, has finally laid this matter to rest. I will then speak without restraint in what I believe is right or wrong. For now, I take it as given.
Do you have confidence on the judiciary?
Until we get there, I'm not in the judiciary. I'm not a judge. I'm not even a lawyer. So I'm saying that given the way the country has been formulated, the democracy has been formulated, and given the experience of the past, one may have a moment of doubt or a sense of doubt, a sense of being skeptical. But one have to give up hope, live on hope, and say, okay, the fundamental nature of this struggle for Nigerian democracy, the fundamental struggle for the survival of the Nigerian state is something that the judiciary should take note. So even if you tear down billboards to say all eyes on judiciary, there's something wrong with that statement. Have it as a billboard, have it in flex, have it everywhere. All eyes on the judiciary. That is what it should be. Our eyes are not blind like the judiciary. They say they are blind because they are arbiters of justice, they are impartial, they're objective, they're fair, and they're just. We have eyes, we're seeing and we're watching them. All eyes on the judiciary. That means I still hold that hope that with our collective millions and tens of millions of eyes on the judiciary, that judiciary will do the right thing.